Well, so here we are. This is the all-new 2025 Scott Addict RC20 lightweight climbing bike, and in this episode I will give you the buyer's guide for this bike, and also I will make a comparison with an absolute legend when it comes to lightweight climbing bikes, and that's the Giant TCR Advanced Pro 1 road bike. So as you can see, both of these lightweight climbing bikes have a retail price of hard-earned $5,700, and that's why I thought it will be very interesting to see what Scott Addict RC has to offer when compared with this also 2025 model of the Giant TCR. So hello friends, and welcome to another episode of Cycling Insider. So before we start, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do, because it's going to help in growing the channel, and of course, for all of you who are already a subscriber, I say thank you. So let's kick off with this Scott Addict RC20 bike. So I have to say, I never thought that Scott Addict RC will go again down the route of super lightweight climbing bikes, because of course in the last few years you heard all the stories about how aero is everything, and to be honest, for professionals and professional racing, aero is everything. But these lightweight climbing bikes have always been a favorite of mine, because for the regular bike riders, whenever you are attacking some steep mountains, you always want to feel that lightweight feeling in your bike and that snappiness in your bike. So I'm so surprised and so glad that this latest iteration of Scott Addict RC is primarily a lightweight, stiff climbing bike. So when you look at this retail price of $5,700, you have two paint schemes on offer from Scott, which is, very nice. And one of these paint schemes is this so-called hushed pink paint scheme. I have to say, very bold, very brave paint scheme. And then you have this classical, I would call it like a carbon black paint scheme from Scott. So all in all, very nice. At least you have a choice when it comes to these paint schemes. So if you speak about the question, who is this bike for? Well, simply put, proper lightweight, stiff climbing bike. So if you enjoy climbing the mountains, then definitely these both bikes are for you. So with this Scott Addict RC20, let's kick off with the frame and the fork on this bike. So this is the carbon fiber HMX carbon fiber frame and the matching fork on this Scott bike. We have a press fit bottom bracket and also 12mm through axles, both front and the back. As it is now, all of the cables are internally routed, and internal routing has been done, through the handlebar, through the stem, and then down the frame. So just keep in mind, if anything needs replacing in the future, you will have to drop the bike to your local mechanic, and it's probably going to cost a lot of money to replace anything because of this, in fully internally routed cables. Also with the Scott HMX carbon fiber frames, this is not the highest level Scott does. They have their HMX SL carbon fiber frame also, but then of course the price goes way above these $5,700. Warranty on Scott frames is still, I believe, 5 years. Maybe it's now 6, but I believe definitely 5 years. Double check with your local Scott bike dealer, which is, pretty standard, nothing special here. I wish that Scott would move towards lifetime warranty, but it is something, to think about in the future. When it comes to the seat post, a very nice carbon fiber seat post from Scott. Also here you have an option of mounting your rear light on this carbon fiber seat post. Very nicely integrated. I don't think this rear light comes, standard shipped with the bike. You probably need to buy it separately. And also the saddle here, classical, some kind of Synchros saddle, in-house brand of Scott. I can't comment too much on how good this saddle will be, but again, very easy to replace in the future. With this carbon fiber seat post, I think this is the first time that Scott is using their D-shaped carbon fiber seat post. You have seen that design, for example, on the Giant bikes for many, many years. And again, it's excellent that carbon fiber seat post is included here, because it is going to soak up a lot of road bumps. Moving to the front handlebar and the stem, in this instance, you will get what is very interesting, a combination of aluminium stem and carbon fiber handlebar from Syncross, again, in-house brand of Scott. I am, really glad that they have included a carbon fiber handlebar in this instance. And again, as you can see, all the cabling for the hydraulic disc brakes are routed through the handlebar, through the stem, and then into the frame. Maybe not the best solution, as I say, if you need replacing anything, this will probably cost you a bit more money with your local bike mechanic. Okay, moving on, we can now have a quick look for the same levels of the money. What are you getting with the Giant TCR? So, when it comes to the paint scheme on the Giant TCR, you only have one paint scheme on offer. This is this totally blacked out paint scheme on the Giant TCR. When it comes to the frame and the fork, this is the Giant's advanced grade composite carbon fiber. But for the fork, Giant is using their advanced grade composite SL carbon fiber fork. So this SL carbon fiber fork, the highest level of carbon fiber that Giant does, and then we have again a second tier carbon fiber for their carbon fiber frame. So with Giant, you are getting a lifetime warranty on their carbon fiber frames. Also, this frame set has a press feed bottom bracket, Shimano press feed bottom bracket, and 12mm through axles, both front and the back. When it comes to the seat post, again, this is the Giant's classical D-shaped carbon fiber seat post. Excellent seat post for soaking up the road bumps. And also here we have the Giant's own saddle. Not too many comments here from me. If you don't like it, very easy to replace. And when you look at the handlebar and the stem on this bike, so Giant has stuck with the classical aluminium handlebar, aluminium stem on this bike, and also they've a little bit simplified here the cable routing, so you can see here it goes below the handlebar, then kind of below the stem into the frame. So just a little bit simpler solution than on the Scott bike, but again, if anything needs replacing, you will still have to visit your local bike shop, and probably it's going to cost you a bit more money to sort any hydraulic lines if it needs sorting. So as you can see, both of these carbon fiber frames, forks, and smaller components like the handlebar, stem, seat post, very, very similar. The only little advantage here goes to, I would say, Scott Addict, because with Scott Addict you get the carbon fiber handlebar on the bike immediately. None of these bikes, funnily enough, come with the UDH hanger at the back, so universal derailleur hanger. I'm not so sure why. It seems to me that this UDH standard is going to be something, for the future, so maybe it would be good that these both manufacturers have included it. Okay, moving on to the group set on these bikes. So let's start with the Scott Addict RC20. So in this instance, you are getting a superb Shimano Ultegra Di2 electronic group set. So this group set is a 12-speed group set, electronic, not fully wireless, because with Shimano group sets, the cable still runs between the front mech and the rear mech, and then the shifters are communicating wirelessly with the front mech. But make no mistake, stunning group set, electronic group set, and works perfectly fine. Also, no cutting corners here. You have the Shimano Ultegra crankset, so 2 chain rings at the front, 5236 I believe, and then at the back you will have the Shimano Ultegra cassette 1134. So beautiful range here, exactly ready for climbing any steep mountains. And when it comes to the chain, this is the 12-speed chain from the Shimano's mountain bike world, so Shimano XT level chain, totally fine, don't be worried about that. You can always use any 12-speed Shimano compatible chain. So All in all, superb Shimano Ultegra Di2 electronic group set. And also, I'll just briefly add here, when it comes to the braking system, Shimano Ultegra hydraulic disc brakes front and the back with the superb Shimano's CL800 braking rotors. So these are the braking rotors with the Shimano iStack technology, so basically a bit more heat dissipation. And at the front you are getting a 160mm braking rotor, and then at the back, unfortunately, Scott is using the 140mm braking rotor. I absolutely don't understand why, because think about it this way. This is a lightweight climbing bike. So let's say you are climbing some steep mountain, maybe like 10 kilometers climbing, average gradient like 9%. But that also means you have to come down on the other side. So now when you start going down, descending for about 10 kilometers and using your brakes, when you're going down, of course you're going to use the rear brake to stabilize the bike. This rear brake with 140mm rotors can easily get overheated. So I just don't understand why they didn't use 160mm braking rotors at the back, because there is not much saving in weight between 160mm rotor and 140, but definitely heat dissipation on 160mm rotor is much better than on 140mm rotor. So there you go. I really have no clue why they do it. Now moving on to the Giant TCR. Let's talk about the group set on the bike. So you see, with the Giant TCR, you are getting a Shimano 105 Di2 electronic group set. So it is again a 12-speed electronic group set, but of course, one step below Shimano Ultegra Di2. But make no mistake, this Shimano 105 Di2 is also an excellent electronic group set, so shifters front mech and the rear mech. Also, Shimano 105 crankset, double chainrings at the front. These are again 52-36 chainrings. And at the back we have a beautiful 1134 cassette, which will definitely be good for climbing any steep mountains. Here the chain is the KMC X12 chain, so 12-speed chain from KMC, superb chain, no problems here. And also when you look at the braking system on this bike, it is a Shimano 105 hydraulic disc brakes front and the back. At the front you are getting Shimano RT70 braking rotors with 160mm, excellent heat dissipation. But then again, when you move to the back, even Giant here is using the Shimano's 140mm braking rotor. So the same comment goes here. If you want good heat dissipation, please use the 160mm braking rotors. Again, I have no clue why Giant does the same stuff and fits this tiny 140mm braking rotor at the back. This should be 160, because again you will be going downhill for a long time with this bike, and you can easily overheat this rear braking rotor. So now, as you see, of course, in this instance, Giant's group set, which is 105 Di2 electronic from Shimano, is definitely a step below the Shimano Ultegra Di2 group set. Although I have to admit, when you ride these group sets back to back, it is very hard to notice the proper difference between Shimano 105 Di2 and Shimano Ultegra Di2, but it is what it is. Definitely the group set on the Scott Addict RC bike is one step above this group set on the on the Giant bike. So now let's talk about the wheel set on both of these bikes. So when you look at the Scott Addict bike, of course Scott is using their own in-house brand of wheels. So this is the Syncross Capital 1.0 wheel set. So this is a carbon fiber wheel set, as the name suggests, 40mm rim depth. Internally it is very nice, 25mm wide, very good. But the biggest problem here is that this wheel set is a hookless wheel set. So carbon fiber hookless wheel set, you really gotta be careful which tires you are using, and also what are the pressures you can run these tires on. So there are different tables out there. You can probably find it on the Syncross website, but you just gotta be careful with that. When it comes to this hubs on this wheel set, Syncross own hubs front and the back, based on DT Swiss ratchet system, so I'm expecting them to be, very reliable. And also, I will mention here that the total weight of this wheel set will be approximately 1,500 grams. So all in, it's a very interesting carbon fiber wheel set, almost ticks every box, and then when you see it's a hookless, I'm always a bit skeptical using these hookless wheels on road bikes. So just keep that in mind. You gotta be careful which tires you are using, and you gotta be careful the tire pressure. Speaking about the tires, these are the Schwalbe 1 tire, tubeless ready tire, as is the wheel set. These tires on the bike are 30 millimeters. Very nice air volume. It's gonna give you smooth bike ride. And also nice thing here, you can fit tires all the way up to 34 millimeters on this carbon fiber frame and the fork, which is, very nice, because ultimately you want this huge air volume and a smooth bike ride. So looking at the Giant TCR, what is Giant using for the wheel set? So in this instance, of course, Giant is using their own SLR1 carbon fiber wheel set, 40 millimeters rim height. Also, this comes with the Giant own SLR hubs, again based on some kind of DT Swiss ratchet system. So again, I'm expecting it to be very reliable. But again, I have to mention here that even this Giant wheel set is a hookless wheel set, hookless carbon fiber wheel set, so all the things apply here the same. You gotta be careful which tires you are using, you gotta be careful about the tire pressures, all the same, spiel like with the Synchros wheel set. So I'm not a big fan of these hookless wheel sets on road bikes. Also with this Giant carbon fiber wheel set, 12mm through axles front and the back, 21 and 24 spokes front and the back. These are SAPIM spokes, excellent, and the total weight is a little bit less than the Synchros wheel set. So this Giant SLR wheel set is approximately 1,450 grams, and the Synchros wheel set is approximately 1,500 grams. But the biggest downside for me in both of these wheel sets is that they are hookless rim design, hookless carbon fiber wheels. You gotta be, really careful with these hookless designs on road bikes. So in a summary, as you can see, for $5,700, these two bikes are very, very similar. And one more thing I forgot to mention almost, with the Giant bike, on their crankset, on the Shimano 105 crankset, you are also getting Giant's own Power Pro power meter, which is absolutely excellent. I can't comment on how precise that power meter is. I'm guessing it should be some kind of industry standard plus minus 1%. But again, Giant has managed to include a power meter on this crankset, while you don't get a power meter with the Scott bike. So moving on to a summary. So some kind of likes and dislikes with both of these bikes. The price of $5,700 is definitely not cheap. It is a bit on the higher levels of the price, but as you can see, definitely these two bikes sit in the same price bracket, and this is the level of the equipment you are getting with both of them. With the Scott bike, of course, some of the highlights are that you are getting this Shimano Ultegra Di2 group set, while on the Giant bike you are getting a Shimano 105 Di2 electronic group set, and both of these carbon fiber frames and forks are going to be superb, light and stiff. And you can also see that the total weight of this Scott bike in some kind of size medium large is going to be 7.3 kilograms, while the Giant TCR bike in the same sizing will be approximately 7.5 kilograms. So not much in it between all these two bikes, and 7.3 or 7.5 kilograms is very light in my book. But the biggest negative thing with both of these bikes is that they are still using a hookless carbon fiber wheel design. It is a bit tricky in my opinion, and you really gotta be careful with that. And also I wish that Scott in this instance has included a power meter on this Shimano crankset, because then kind of the winner would be really, really straightforward. It would definitely be the Scott Addict RC20. But in this instance, it's very tough, in my opinion, to say which one of these bikes is the winner, because as you can see, each one of them has a little bit of advantage in certain area and then a disadvantage in another area. Also, somebody might say, yes, but Shimano Ultegra Di2 group set on Scott is much better than the 105 Di2 group set on Giant. I don't think so. When you ride them back to back, there's not much in it between these two electronic group sets. But if you are in the market for a lightweight climbing bike, I can definitely advise you start with the Scott Addict RC20, test ride it if you can with your local, Scott bike dealer, and then definitely also check out the Giant TCR Advanced. It is the Giant TCR Advanced Pro 1, just because you might get surprised that although some of the equipment on the Giant TCR is just a little bit level below the Scott Addict RC, but still, Giant TCR Advanced Pro 1 is the legend when it comes to the lightweight climbing bikes. Make no mistake, Scott Addict RC20, they've done an excellent job in this iteration of the bike, and definitely almost all the boxes are ticked, but if they would include a power meter on this bike, and if they would get rid of these hookless carbon fiber wheels and just use classic hooked carbon fiber wheels, this bike would be absolutely perfect. As it is now, just few more small upgrades or iterations in my opinion, and then it should be much, much better. Cheers!